is this weekend. Finally the weekend, Deuce Knight flips to Auburn.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Jake Crane of Crane & Company hanging out with us on this Thursday. Jake, what an incredible showing by the Auburn Tigers. What does that mean for this Saturday against Cal? We jump into that in a second. But there's been smoke around Deuce Knight and Auburn for months. It seems like this weekend, all things are pointing to this weekend finally being the weekend where he flips from Notre Dame to the Auburn Tigers, one of the top quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah, well, it's like me and that pint of half-baked ice cream in my freezer. It was just a matter of time, but it was always going to happen. You know, when you're looking at this Auburn recruiting class, and you need to bring in a quarterback in every class, right? And Hugh Freeze will tell you that. That's just any coach will tell you that that's part of it. This has been something that's been building up, and you've seen the momentum that Auburn has accumulated around getting this guy in here. And just like any other position group, but especially when a quarterback commits, it's amazing the magnetism that creates for guys that are out there who were at the game last week and were like, man, look at Cam Coleman, look at Perry Thompson. Not only are these guys, did Auburn tell them they're going to play, they are actually playing early. And now we got a quarterback in this class that I know is a dog, that I know can spin it. And that's just going to increase Auburn's chances of putting together what I consider to be, and at least from talking to some of the people within the program, could be a historic class.
Yeah, I mean, all these names that you're hearing and you're seeing national media folk put crystal balls in for them to flip to Auburn or commit to Auburn with Deuce Knight, with Naim Alford, the #1 player in the state, the corner out of Parker. Oh my gosh, I'm going to ask you specifically about him in a second. Usman Chroma, the Georgia running back who is very, very talented, won it by FSU and Georgia. He got crystal balls and was also here this past weekend. Melendez, the linebacker, the 4-star linebacker who does not care about your feelings, plays with that reckless abandon. He was committed to Miami. He got crystal ball to flip to Auburn this weekend. Andrew Babalola, the 5-star offensive tackle.
That's the one that if I could pick one, and listen, I was DB coach for a long time. Offers an incredible player from Parker. All these guys are good. Yeah. Give me Babalola. Give me the offensive lineman. It's funny, Zach. You know, Auburn is always, they've been on big time guys, right? And it always fizzles out at the end. What's been the difference with Hugh Freeze? He's actually getting these cats to come to Auburn. It's not like, oh, well, Auburn finished in his top 3, so let's all be happy. We were right there with Georgia and Bama, but we just, no, that's not what Hugh and this crew are doing. They're getting these guys. And now I'm not surprised when I hear that Auburn has a legitimate chance and then ends up getting one of these top players, and getting a guy like Deuce Knight is only going to push that forward. And it's not just the in-state recruiting where Auburn is having a lot of success. It's everywhere. That's why, again, all offseason, Zach, me and you got on here and talked about just get to 8-4. Just get to 8-4, maybe 9-3, heck, maybe even 9 or 10-2, and watch what happens with this staff and their ability to recruit the top guys at this level. I'm telling you, Zach, just like we said 2 weeks before kickoff, I have never been more optimistic about Auburn's football future than I am right now.
And all of those names we just mentioned, it's not a stretch to get any of them. Now, is it a stretch to get all of them? I don't know. I have no clue. And there's smoke around Caleb Cunningham, right? If Deuce Knight comes, is Caleb Cunningham ready to flip?
Zach, I'll tell you this. I think there's a better chance we get all of them than we only get 1 or 2 of them.
Ooh.
Right now. Now, listen, these are 18-year-old kids, right? If you've been following recruiting,
their mind, sure.
They can change their mind. NIL's been different. But as of right now, that's why Auburn needs to go out there and drown Cal in a small puddle of water this Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's just, if we got all of them, they'd be the #2 class in the country. And it's and at that point, I don't even care about the ranking. It's there's not a class better than this one.
I used to pray for times like this.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So I want to ask you specifically about Naim Alford, because you are a DB guy. I love corners. It's my favorite position to watch in football. And I get pushback the few times I've said this on the show, but Auburn's never had a recruit like Naim Alford. And they've had very good corners. Don't get me wrong. But a dude who had the expectations of being this good coming out of the high school ranks, it's just kind of hard to explain how good he is to some people.
Well, this is Dre Kirk. These are the guys that go to Bama. These are the guys that Nick Saban got to go to Bama every year. These are the Kool-Aids. The guys like that. And I think Alford's better than Kool-Aid. Auburn haven't been able to get these guys, the Terrion Arnolds, guys like this who eventually got moved to safety. And I think what makes Alford, what makes his game next level, it's obviously he's got the physical tools, right? He's got the length, his hips, he can change direction really well. He can sink and get out of it. He can high point the ball defensively. I think what separates him is his eye discipline in man and zone, which Parker runs a little bit of both, but also he's not a greedy guy at corner. Not that he doesn't take chances, but he understands what's in front of him. He doesn't fall for double moves, right? They're not able really to pick him. I think he's a guy that once he gets in a collegiate weight room as well, you never know what he's going to turn into. I think you can put him at corner. I think you can put him at safety. Heck, I think you can put him at nickel in the right situation. So having a guy that is this ready to play at that position group out of high school is something we have not seen Auburn get, to your point, in a long time. And that's not even including his length and his makeup ability, just in case he does get beat, because every DB gets beat. He just doesn't get beat a lot, and that's why his offer sheet is a 5-star offer sheet if I've ever seen one.
Do you think he has the potential to start opposite Kayan Lee next year if he comes here? Will he beat out Jay Crawford?
Yeah, I think he has a chance.
Yeah,
I think he has a chance. I think he knows that. I think the staff knows that, and I think that makes Auburn even more enticing.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about it. All right, what does Auburn need to do against Cal? What are proper expectations for Saturday? We jump into exactly what that means. Like Jake said, Auburn needs to drown Cal in a small puddle of water. That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's America's #1 sportsbook. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, and they've got something a little special. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account that's free and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Auburn minus 13.5. I'm telling you, I feel pretty good about it. So head over to FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook today. Jake Crane of Crane & Company. Auburn blitzes Alabama A&M and something that we haven't seen in a very long time, if ever. 73 to 3. It's just insane. It still feels weird saying it, Jake.
Yeah.
Cal struggles against UC Davis in the first half. Second half was fine. What's your expectation? What should the expectations of the Auburn fan base be for Saturday?
Yeah, well, if we're going to talk about fan base, and I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you threw that specific in there, because to Auburn, Cal, it should have nothing to do with Cal other than the scheme, right? And knowing who their primetime playmakers are. It's a faceless opponent. We've talked about this a ton. It is about Auburn getting better. I don't care if it's Cal. I don't care if it's Cal Tech. I don't care if it's Cal Ripken Jr. It's about Auburn getting better each week. That's the trick. It's a faceless opponent. But what the fan base should expect to see from Auburn, and last week again, they beat Alabama A&M to death, but they should have, right? Remember, I came on here, we talked about the 5 things that you can get out of watching a cupcake game or your team play a much lesser opponent. I think Auburn got 4 out of the 5. The turnover margin, are you really ripping at the ball when you're up 60-3? I mean, there's kind of some gamesmanship that goes on, the 10-minute corner situation. Auburn looked different. And if you have watched Auburn, and everybody listening to this or watching this right now knows exactly what I'm talking about, that team looked different than any Auburn team I've seen in a long time. Not only just from a size standpoint, there's a lot of guys that are big, but we can run. We're big and we can run. Here's where I'm a little bit nervous. The secondary, but we knew that, right? We have to see the secondary continue to get better. Yeah. Alabama A&M ran some spacing stuff early, but overall, I thought the tackling was pretty good. But they're going to get a little bit more game pressure and more resistance, obviously, from Cal than they did against Alabama A&M. But Payton Thorne, you want to see him making good decisions this week. Are we able to collapse the pocket? You heard Hugh Freeze talk about this. This is something last week. Alabama A&M was getting the ball out quick, and he was kind of a runner, so they were trying to keep him in the pocket and keep their integrity lanes when rushing. And you're going to have to do that a little bit this week, obviously, against Mendoza. But I think Mendoza will put the ball in harm's way a lot. You just got to force him to do it. I don't think he can beat you consistently from the pocket. Now, Cal's got some guys coming back from injury, right? Whether it's on the offensive line, whether it's at wide receiver. They've got a couple guys and transfers in, too, outside of Jade Knott, who's dinged up, but he's going to play. Yeah, he's going to play. But I expect Auburn to dominate both sides of the line of scrimmage, which means they're going to dominate the game. What I want to see is when Auburn needs to get 3rd and 2, because last year against Cal, we couldn't get 3rd and 2 when we lined up and run the ball. That's as sad true. As that is. And you and I and everybody in the arena knows that Auburn couldn't throw the ball very well last year, and the Cal game was an indictment on that. But Auburn needs to be able, when it's 3rd and 2, or even when it's 1st and 10, Zach, and we want to get in 2nd and 6, we run a one outside zone or inside zone or split zone or counter or power or whatever for 4 yards at least on 1st down, we can line up and get it. And then again, looking on the outside, can Payton Thorne make the right decisions with the RPO? And when he puts the ball up, does Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson and Robert Lewis and Keandre Lambert-Smith and Rivaldo Fairweather and these guys, are they able to show that Auburn has grown on the outside? And at least early, you got to feel good about it. But also, Zach, can I say something?
Go ahead.
If Malcolm Simmons doesn't step out of bounds, I 100% nailed my first returnable kick goes for a touchdown on your show.
You did. You did. And a few people gave you props for that. A few people gave you props for that.
I was like, yeah. I knew when they went back to review it, I was like, oh, guy stepped out of bounds, because I was about to come on here talking all type of ish.
Yeah. Yeah. Keontae Scott.
Keontae, that was right. That was right.
Yeah.
That was right.
Yeah.
Malcolm just did everything else.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Malcolm did do everything else. Scored on a pump block and everything. But yeah. It was Keontae. But yes, no. Several people gave you your flowers on Twitter for sure.
Man, almost.
That was close. That would have been electric for sure. Fernando Mendoza. If he wasn't a quarterback, what would he do for a living with that name? I said pirate earlier this week.
Fernando Mendoza, I don't know, man. He sounds like a guy who the guys who make the songs for like the famous Hispanic artists who do the songs for like the cartel that they love. I feel like he'd be like the top dog in there. I forgot there's a name for it. I actually watched a documentary on it. It's
really?
It's crazy. They have guys that like make songs
music
for
just for the cartel,
just for the cartel, like it's like a legitimate thing. I got to go look at the name of the documentary, but I do want to say this about him. This guy can cause some problems now. This, I think he's a better thrower than Sam Jackson, who I'm so happy he's on Auburn's team. I'm ready to watch him ball against his former team.
Sure,
but I want to caution,
Sam Jackson, by the way.
Yeah, I want to caution every Auburn fan. Auburn should win this game. I really think they cover the 13.5. I don't know what it's at this morning, actually. But we cannot go into this game thinking, oh, well, it's Cal. They're going to be a terrible team. Is Cal great? No. Does Cal have a couple guys that can keep them in the game? And if Auburn doesn't play the way they should play, could there be some pressure at the end of the 3rd quarter going into the 4th quarter with this score? Yes. This is why this is a perfect ramp-up game for Auburn. But you beat Alabama A&M at birth. All right, that just happened. This team they're not nearly as bad as Alabama A&M. They're not nearly as good as Auburn, but they're good enough to make Auburn feel some game pressure and have to really execute with the nuanced things. Not just it's a post route. I'm going to run a post route. This game is going to be won by last week. It was won by miles. This game is going to be won by yards. So and that's no pun intended there. So do not think for a second that Cal is coming over here to just say thank you for the memories. They're coming in here to win it, and Auburn's going to have to show up and play well.
Mendoza didn't really try to stretch the field against UC Davis. Do you think that was a coaching decision to not put a whole lot on tape, or do you think that's just who they are? They're going to check it down similar to what Auburn did a year ago.
Well, a couple things. I don't think he's a great thrower of the ball downfield, but with his skill set, you can kind of get away with it a little bit as long as you just do it a couple times a game where they know you're willing to do it if you have to. But also, they were very vanilla against UC Davis if you go back and watch that game. Not that this offense is some super complex, unbelievably crazy system that's put together. But I thought they were pretty vanilla. What I'm interested to see is two things. One is the amount of downfield throws, which you just brought up, because they're going to have to attack every third of the field. If I'm playing Auburn right now, if I'm Cal, where do I feel like Auburn is weakest at? Not that they're weak, but where are they weakest at? It's in the back end. So if I'm going to hit a big play, it's probably not lining up and running lead zone into the front seven the whole game, or zone read, because Auburn can run sideline to sideline. It's vertical, right? That's what it is. So I think they kept some of those close to the vest. The second thing I would do is I would move the pocket, especially if Auburn is winning on the line of scrimmage early, and these guys can kind of pin their ears back a little bit more and go reach down and grab that bag of money that's right there by the quarterback. So how much sprint out are we going to get? Quick game. I'm very interested, Zach, if I'm Auburn right now and I look at the quick game last week and I know who Mendoza is, how much cover 2 am I going to play, which means that the corners are going to be responsible for the flat, and then how much trap coverage can I play off of that to let my corners jump the underneath as well? Because I think they're going to try, just like a pitcher, they want you to throw the fastball early, right? Get you in a groove, give you some easy throws. Auburn, I don't think, needs to line up with a bunch of cushion in this game, even though, there's some threats at wide receiver. Yeah. But I tell you, man, I think Auburn may jump one early. You may get a jump pick 6, a corner coming out of Notre Dame, one of these guys saying, you know what? I know you're running the out, or I know you're running stick, which is a 2-man combination. Number 1 goes vertical, 2 goes 5 yards and out. So the inside guy goes 5 yards and out. And the corner who's on 1 says, no, I'll let the safety take the vertical. I'm going to jump the out because it's coming right to me. Don't be shocked to see that early in this game.
You got a score prediction? You feel comfortable with the score prediction?
Man, I think Auburn wins this game because, look, I got respect for Wilcox as a defensive game plan. I think he's going to try and keep everything in front. I don't know what you're going to do with Cam Coleman. I'm going to tell you, I even tweeted this during the game. I haven't been able to get to Auburn to see this cat in person, but I can just tell on TV, we're huge, dog. It's like, you remember Anthony Mix and like those guys that are just massive, but as far as the score,
that was like my first 4 shows after fall camp started. It was just talking about how big the receivers were.
Bro, he looked like a tight end. Like me and my brother watching the game, we got it on the laptop because it wasn't one of the main games. It was on the multi-view. I looked at him after that first Cam Coleman touchdown. I was like, bro, we ain't had that.
No,
I have not seen that in a long.
And media's been saying that for a hot minute because we've been able to see him in practice and stuff. And Auburn fans are like, "Oh, stop it! We've had good receivers before." I'm like, "No, not this. No, not this guy.
This is different. Give me Auburn. Give me Auburn 38-17.
Okay, yeah, I'm thinking mid-30s to mid-teens. So yeah, I'm kind of right there with you.
I think it's probably going to be 31 to 17 going in the fourth quarter. Auburn hits Rivaldo Fairweather in the seam to make it 38-17, and then it's just, let's go ahead and put the women and children to bed and call this one a night.
Sure. Jake Crane, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Oh man, we're actually going to talk a decent amount of Auburn today on Crane & Company, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Central, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I want to thank everybody. We're over 150,000 subs. You guys are the best. Whether you like me, whether you don't like me, whether you agree, whether you disagree, and we encourage disagreeing because it makes it more fun. Come check us out. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yes, be sure to check it out for sure. Like the video, please subscribe to Locked On Auburn. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.